Part of the reason they don't have sufficient support is because when you are focused on being that high performer and showing everyone what you are capable of and proving yourself at new levels, it can be really hard to be vulnerable. And because you're not being vulnerable and not being open enough to talk about your needs and your desires, it means that you often don't get the help that you truly need. Welcome to the Career Changemaker podcast, where we focus on owning your career journey and making impact through the work that you do. Whether you're looking to pivot, transition into leadership, or reimagine your career completely, this podcast is for you. We'll unpack career development strategies, leadership insights, and the mindset shifts needed to thrive in your career. Being a career changemaker means taking control and shaping your professional path with intention. I'm your host, lawyer turned career and leadership development specialist, Janine Esbrand. So if you're ready for candid conversations that are going to help you grow, keep listening.
Coaching has helped me as the mask. It's like a porcelain mask. Let's say it was jagged and kind of chipped off here. It was okay just to let it chip. And then as the pieces fell, instead of being like a juggler trying to catch them and hold it in place and like, oh, hi, Janine, how are you? Let them fall, and the more that happened, the better I felt going out, literally with a piece of my mask here still on, but this piece, it's like a scab. Yeah. It falls off when it's ready. So as the pieces fell off and part of me was exposed, I was more comfortable because I was ready for that to be revealed.
If hearing that resonated with you, and if you've been feeling like you're holding back or constantly wearing a mask to fit into your role, one-to-one coaching could be exactly what you need. Inside our coaching sessions, we create space for you to strip back the layers, reconnect with who you really are, and lead from a place of authenticity and confidence. I've opened up a few spots for one-to-one coaching in July, and I'd love to support you in owning your voice and showing up as the powerful leader that you're meant to be. So if you're ready, the link to apply is in the show notes. Hello, and welcome to this first episode of the new season of the podcast, where we are digging into the inner work of leadership. And we are going to start off by talking about a topic that's near and dear to my heart, and that is the hidden cost of high performance. The other day, I was having a conversation with the director of the Mountbatten program, and she reminded me that it's been 20 years since I packed up my bags and moved 3,000 miles to New York as a junior professional to complete a one-year internship. 20 years, 2 entire decades. I honestly hadn't thought about how long ago it was. And as we were speaking, it brought back a really powerful memory. I remember there was one particular day where I was traveling into the city to work, and I was going through the streets of Manhattan. There were lots of people rushing around. There were yellow cabs whizzing by. And as I prepared to cross the road, or cross the street, as they would say over there, everything just seemed to slow down for a moment. And I felt this unexpected sense of freedom. And it was because in that moment, in the vastness of New York City and in the hustle and bustle, I realized that no one knew who I was. And because no one knew who I was, there were no expectations. There was no reputation to uphold. There was no pressure to perform. And that anonymity gave me room to just be. And for the first time, I wasn't Janine, the high achiever, Janine, the sister, the friend, or the daughter who always knows what to do, or Janine, the young lawyer that was trying to prove herself. I was just me. And it was a beautiful experience. So whenever I feel the weight of responsibility that one feels being a 40-year-old business owner, mother of 2, wife of 1, I take myself back to that moment and remind myself of what it feels like to just be, rather than be in the mode where you're doing to live up to the expectations of your title. And when I think about the amazing women that I have coached over the years, that feeling of needing to perform is very much present for most, if not all of them. And the reason why that is the case is because as high achievers, we are seen as very capable, as driven, as very put together, right? Having all the answers, being the one to make things happen. But the reality is, under the surface, under the polished exterior, there can often be this feeling of disconnect, or this feeling of pressure, or this feeling of not being understood. So in today's episode, I really want to unpack what happens when high performance becomes our armor, and how we can start letting some of that go and showing up with more authenticity, more alignment, and more ease, so that we can do the work we want to do and create the impacts that we want to create without feeling like we are sacrificing ourselves. I was preparing for a presentation the other day and I was doing some research and I came across a report by McKinsey, and it revealed a shocking stat. It said that for every woman who is promoted to director level, 2 women in leadership are leaving. So when we think about creating gender diversity in top roles, we are literally taking 1 step forward and 2 steps back. Women are literally walking away from roles that they have worked so hard to acquire. So it really got me thinking. As I was reading the article, I was thinking about, why is this happening? And there are a number of reasons why this is happening. And one of those is that when women climb the ranks and they make their way to the top, many of them do not feel fully supported. They may be the only one, or they may be one of few women who are powering through at that level, and they don't have sufficient support. And part of the reason they don't have sufficient support is because when you are focused on being that high performer and showing everyone what you are capable of and proving yourself at new levels, it can be really hard to be vulnerable. And because you're not being vulnerable and not being open enough to talk about your needs and your desires, it means that you often don't get the help that you truly need, right? I see it time and time again inside of my one-to-one coaching practice, where women are showing up and they are doing the thing, and they are showing up in the way that they think they need to in order for them to be successful. And that is okay, right? It's good for you to look and learn and understand what is required to be successful. But the bit that is often missing is they are not paying enough attention to who they are as a person and what they can uniquely bring to the table, and where there may be misalignment between how they naturally show up and the strengths that they have and the way that they are performing right now. I am a real fan of the DISC assessment, so much so that I'm a certified practitioner of DISC, and I get all of my clients to do this assessment. The reason I do this is it allows them to see what their personality type is, what their communication style is, what their workplace preferences are, and that gives them a good picture around how they can show up with more ease and alignment. So when we do the debrief, what the report often shows is that the way that they are showing up in private when they feel most comfortable is different to how they are showing up publicly. So the personality traits that they allow to come to the fore are different, or the way that they approach their work is different. And it makes sense. It's natural to have different personas at work and at home. However, the difference is often deeper than that, because they don't even realize that they are showing up differently. They don't realize that as they are climbing the ranks to leadership, they are really looking externally and relying on external blueprints for success. But some of these blueprints don't honor who they uniquely are and what they bring to the table. So what ends up happening is that there is this internal tension. There is this cognitive dissonance where it's like, I've worked so hard to get here. I am performing, but I am miserable, or I am burnt out, or I am stressed. You're trying to show up on a day-to-day basis in a way that isn't fully aligned to who you are as a person. That is not sustainable in the long term. It's really hard to thrive in a role or in an environment that doesn't allow you to leverage your strengths. It's really, really difficult. It's like you're going against the grain all of the time. When you have worked your way up to a new level in your career, what is required of you is going to be different to what was required of you before. So the way that you approached your work, the way that you were showing up, the way that you were thinking about your work as an individual contributor or someone who is climbing the ranks is different to someone who is in a leadership position. when you are in a leadership position, there is so much more that you need to be thinking about on a strategic level that you require energy for, that you require focus for. So if you are still trying to spend your time focusing on what other people are doing and how other people are leading and how they are showing up and trying to emulate that, you're not able to direct as much time and energy to where your focus needs to be. So when you become a leader, it's important for you to start to feel comfortable in your skin, in the way that you think things through, in the way that you make decisions, and really allow who you are to come to the fore. Allow your strengths to be leveraged. Allow your perspective to be harnessed. And in order to do that, you do need to let go of the idea of what it means to be a high performer and instead embrace the fact that you have what it takes and allow who you are to really come out and leverage that. When you are constantly showing up as that high performer and wearing a mask that lets everybody else feel like you are fine and everything is going well, you are not allowing yourself the space that is required for you to show up and lead in a way that is sustainable, in a way that doesn't lead to you feeling burnt out, in a way that doesn't lead to you walking out the door eventually. I think it's so important for you to have a space where you are doing the things that are working not only for those around you, the deadlines, the clients, the people, but also working for you as you grow as a leader. You heard from a client earlier about her unmasking experience, and it was incredible to work with her over 3 months and just watch her go from feeling like she needed to be in all the places, doing all the things for all the people, to embracing boundaries and being intentional about how she showed up and where she showed up in her business and for the partnerships she was in. Seeing her recognize that her saying no didn't lead to everything crumbling. And in fact, people would respect her boundaries if she set them. There are 3 main things that we worked on during our time together that you can also start to think about your relationship between high performance and whether you are in fact wearing a mask when you don't want to or need to be. The first thing we focused on was recognizing the mask and identifying the ways and places that the mask would show up. So she was paying attention to the environments, the people, the circumstances that would cause her to feel as though she couldn't show up authentically. And then we moved into understanding the cost, because if there isn't a cost associated to the behavior that you're exhibiting, the likelihood of you changing it is slim. So we worked on clarifying what the practical and emotional cost of her continuing to wear the mask of high performance was, so that she could make her own personal commitment around the changes that she wanted to make. And then the last thing we did was test ways that she could show up differently. So it's a tall order to say, okay, you've been operating in this way for a very long time and now we're just going to switch. So instead of trying to do that, we looked at what are small ways that you can start to show up in the way that you want to and build the muscle around your ability to do things differently. So I encourage you to go through the same exercise and identify where you might need to make some shifts so that your high performance is coming from a place of intention rather than from a place of fear or worry or proving yourself. Know that you don't have to compromise your authenticity for success. If you really think about the peers and the leaders that you most admire, it's likely that they are the ones that stand out, not because they do what everyone else does, but because they do things differently or they do things in a way that is unique to them. So you get to be that person too. You get to be the person who leverages who they are so that they're able to make the type of impact that they want to make through the work that they do. There is only one you, and it would be awesome if you would allow people to see it fully in the work that you do and the leadership that you exhibit. If you enjoyed this episode and what I shared with you resonates, I invite you to join us over in our brand new Substack community where we're exploring all things career and leadership development. And if you would like to explore working together, I would love for you to head over to janinesbrand.com/coaching and submit an application, and we will assess whether working together is a good fit. All right, that is all for today. I will see you next time. Don't forget to leave us a rating and review and subscribe to the show so you do not miss our next episode, which is going to be another good one. Until next time, take care of yourself and keep moving towards your career goals.